Good afternoon, friends. It's Wednesday, September 2nd, and time for a daily reflection. There are days when I wonder, why do we do what we do? I know that we're called to let our light so shine before others that they see our good works and glorify God. But then again, why? What benefit is it? Why do I get out of doing all of this stuff? I am honestly proud, however, to say that you, the people of Shepherd of the Hills, have responded to so many needs when they're announced. We've responded to assist those devastated by Superstorm Sandy that destroyed homes in New Jersey, Hurricane Harvey that hit Houston, the fire in Santa Rosa, and the campfire in Paradise. We've raised over $130,000 in response to those events. I know that we have made a difference in the lives of those who have seen homes and treasures destroyed by fire and awful weather. I know we've also sent pillowcases from our Case for Hope small group to those same victims. I have celebrated our selfless acts of love and charity. But there are times when I wonder, what difference does it make? We seem like we're always responding to something. And sometimes we get thank yous. Sometimes we just wonder, what difference did it make? Well, that thought changed a little bit yesterday. I was finishing work in the office and getting ready to go home when the phone rang. I answered with my normal, pleasant, "Good afternoon, Shepherd of the Hills Lutheran Church. How can I help you?" And the woman on the other end said, "Oh, good, you are there." She sounded somewhat familiar, but I wasn't sure. And she started right in on our conversations. So I didn't want to interrupt and make it sure that I got her name. Also, her words were conveying the message that we somehow or other knew each other. She asked how we were doing with the fires. I told her that today the air was cleaner and it was good to know that containment was growing. Now, part of this is also because of the fact that we're doing everything on worship on Facebook and YouTube, and people are tuning in all over the country. So I wondered if indeed she was a worshiper. She asked me if anybody in the congregation had lost their homes, and I paused for a moment. Now, I know that everybody connected to Shepherd of the Hills does not listen to me when I speak, and they don't remember things that I've said. So I was only slightly put off by that question. Instead, I replied, "Yes, we have a family who lost their home." And then I paused. I didn't want to give out a name, and I asked her name instead. She said Barbara, and that didn't help. She told me she was calling from Southern California. So now my mind starts scrolling through all those people who have liked Shepherd of the Hills' Facebook page in the last 6 months. And I'm trying to remember, do I know anybody from Southern California who's liked our page? Nothing was coming again. And as she was telling me that she had seen the news story about a family in Vacaville who lost their home and the collection of cars, trains, and other memorabilia, and that the story moved her to find some way to help the victims of the fire. She wasn't sure of the name of it, she just knew it was here in Vacaville. She also told me she didn't want to contribute to any number of, and she listed a number of organizations. She didn't want to do that because she said, quote, "Those people make too much money and they take too much off the top." I told her that we don't obviously take any money off the top. Every penny donated goes where it's supposed to go. And I asked her, "How did you find us to ask these questions?" She said, "Well, she just Googled Lutheran churches in Vacaville, and ours came up first." Yes! Then she said, "You have a preschool, don't you?" I said, "Yes, I do. Yes, we do." "Do you have an elementary school?" "No, we focus on the preschool." I began to put 2 and 2 together and came up with 4.5. I had some assumptions about who she was and what kind of church connection she might have. She then told me that she would be sending me a check, sending us a check, to help our relief fund. I told her that the fund would go directly to the family who has lost their home, and was that okay? And she said, absolutely, and make sure they get every penny that I'm sending. I said, no worries, ma'am. I was positive she wanted to hear that word. We don't have an administration fees for the donations. Good, she shouted back at me. Then she went on to tell me some of her own church background, how she had left a Lutheran church where she'd been a member and participant for multiple decades. She had just started attending a new church in March, a week before the shutdown. We had this awkward conversation about frustrations with her previous congregation and the problems she felt in the direction that they were taking for ministry. It wasn't where she wanted to go. And as we started to wrap up our conversation, she told me once more that the check is in the mail, if you believe that statement, and I said I do. And to be sure, she read to me the address she had written on the envelope, all correct. I told her I'd keep an eye out for the envelope and her contribution to our cause. I concluded with the words, "Thank you for being a minister to our family in need, and I pray that God will continue to bless you and give you shalom." I thought the conversation was over, and she suddenly said, "I'm not a minister. My son is, but I'm not." Well, now it's a whole other conversation. She told me that her son is indeed a pastor in Arizona, in an area that I sort of know. And she said, "I think that's what he wants me to do, contribute to people." And I said, I'm sure he does. And I'm sure God is giving thanks that you are doing something. And she then said, "Yes, aren't we supposed to let our light so shine before others that they see our good works and glorify God?" Why do we do what we do? Because all of a sudden God says, see, other people are doing it too. Other people are responding to needs. And at this moment, you get to minister by receiving, just as the Lacanaris get to minister by receiving the gifts we give. Why do we do what we do? Because it is this way that we let others know what good works look like. Because people do see how we live the gospel, and it allows others to live the same gospel message. Love your neighbor. I look forward to seeing you on Sunday. And remember, this is a Sunday that we're going to try parking lot worship time. So while the church is being broadcast on Facebook and recorded for YouTube, people will also be out in the parking lot listening in on their devices or on the speakers that Chris has arranged to put out in the parking lot so you can at least hear what's being said. See you Sunday. And after the service of word here in the worship space, I'll be outside under the portico offering communion moment. And you will be, those of you who are here can take communion in your cars at a safe physical distance. Remember, please, wash your hands, stay home if you're sick, love one another, let your light so shine before others that they see your good works and glorify God. Practice the important social distancing. Wear your masks, please. And of course, be safe out there.